The Galactic Academy was buzzing with noise that afternoon. The main cafeteria was full of students from different planets, their voices mixing like waves in a storm. Daniel, the human exchange student, sat quietly in the corner, eating the strange blue soup that still tasted odd to him. He had been here for only 3 weeks. And most aliens still stared at him like he was some kind of dangerous animal in a cage. Across the room, Lyra, an alien girl from the crystal-born Xanthari species, was sitting with her friends. Her skin shimmered faintly under the cafeteria. Lights and her long silver hair almost touched the floor when she moved. She was well known in the academy, top student, proud, and sometimes too proud. Had never spoken to Daniel, not even once. Daniel was about to take another spoonful when a sudden scream cut through the air. All heads turned toward Lyra. She was standing now, her eyes wide with shock. Her hands clutching her stomach. A glowing pulse of light seemed to move under her skin, making it look like something was alive inside her. "Help! Help me!" she gasped, her voice shaking. Then her eyes locked onto Daniel. Her face twisted with pain and something else, accusation. She pointed directly at him and shouted words that froze the entire cafeteria. "Human, what have you done to me? Why is my belly so swollen?" The room went silent. Even the food machines stopped humming. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward Daniel. Some were filled with suspicion, others with pure anger. Daniel dropped his spoon, his mind racing. I don't even know you," he said, his voice breaking slightly. But it was too late. The first whispers had already started, and they spread fast like fire on dry grass. The academy guards burst into the cafeteria. Tall, armored figures with glowing visors, they rushed to Lyra first, scanning her with strange devices. The readings made one of them curse under his breath. Then they turned to Daniel, their weapons already aimed. "Stand up, human," one of them ordered in a cold metallic voice. Daniel's heart pounded. His legs felt heavy. He stood slowly, trying not to make any sudden moves. "I didn't do anything," he said again. But his voice was drowned by the noise of students shouting. Some were calling for his arrest. Others were recording with their holodevices. A few just watched. In silent fear, Lyra's condition worsened quickly. The glowing in her stomach became brighter, like a small sun trapped under her skin. She cried out again, her voice breaking. The guards exchanged tense looks. One of them spoke into a communicator, calling for medical backup. Daniel's mind was spinning. He had no idea what was happening. He had never touched Lyra, never spoken to her. But the way she looked at him now, like he was the cause of her suffering, made him feel trapped. In a nightmare, 2 guards grabbed his arms roughly. The cold metal of their armor dug into his skin. "You are under investigation for biological interference," one of them said. "You will come with us immediately." Biological. What? Daniel tried to pull back, but their grip tightened. He glanced at Lyra one last time. Her face was pale, her body trembling. And yet her eyes never left his. The look in them was not just pain, it was fear. The guards dragged him out of the cafeteria. The hallway outside was quieter, but no less tense. Daniel could hear the distant sound of medbots arriving for Lyra. His thoughts raced. How could this happen? Why him? As they turned a corner, he caught sight of a reflection in one of the crystal walls. For a brief second, he saw something strange. A faint flicker of light in his own chest, pulsing in the same rhythm as the glow in Lyra's stomach. His blood ran cold. He didn't understand it, but some deep part of him knew this was no ordinary illness, and whatever it was, it had somehow connected them. Inside the security wing, they pushed him into a holding chamber. The door sealed shut with a heavy hiss. Daniel sat down on the cold bench, his hands still shaking. He could still hear her scream in his mind, echoing over and over. He didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. By the end of the day, The entire academy would be whispering about the human and the alien girl with the swollen belly. And those whispers would soon spread beyond the walls, reaching ears that Daniel would wish had never heard his name. Somewhere deep inside the academy's medical wing, Lyra lay under scanning lights, her skin glowing brighter by the second. She whispered something to herself, words no one else could hear. Why? Why does it feel like you're inside me? And far away, in the quiet of the holding cell, Daniel felt a sharp pain in his chest. The same rhythm, the same pulse, the connection was real, and it was growing stronger. Daniel sat in the holding cell, the walls humming faintly with the energy shield that kept him inside. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The image of Lyra clutching her stomach, glowing from within, was burned into his mind. And the way she had screamed his name made his skin crawl. He had done nothing, yet somehow everyone believed he had. The door hissed open, and 2 guards entered. One carried a scanner shaped like a silver ring. Without a word, they placed it against his chest. Daniel felt a cold sensation spread through him. The device hummed, flashing red before the guard removed it. They exchanged looks, then stepped back. "What does that mean?" Daniel asked. His voice sounded more desperate than he intended. The guards ignored him, leaving without a single explanation. The door sealed again, and the hum returned. This silence was worse than shouting. It felt like the entire academy had already judged him guilty. Hours passed, or maybe it was less. There was no way to tell in the sealed cell. His thoughts were interrupted by a faint sound. At first, he thought it was the hum of the walls, but then he realized it was coming from inside his own body. A slow, steady pulse, and with each beat, an image flickered in his mind. Lyra lying under bright lights, surrounded by alien doctors. Tubes and wires attached to her body, her eyes wide with fear. Daniel gripped the edge of the bench, breathing hard. It didn't make sense. How could he be seeing her, hearing her voice? A whisper brushed his thoughts, not through his ears, but directly in his mind. "It hurts. Make it stop." He stood up, pacing the tiny space. The connection was real, and it was getting stronger. But if the guards or the doctors knew, they might think it was proof he had done something. He didn't even know what biological interference was, but the way they said it sounded like a crime worse than murder. The door opened again. This time, a tall alien with pale green skin entered. His long robe brushed the floor, and a crest of golden feathers crowned his head. He didn't carry weapons, which somehow made him more unsettling. His eyes, black and reflective, studied Daniel for a long moment before he spoke. "I am Dean Corvell," he said in a voice that was calm but sharp like a blade. "You are accused of transferring human energy into a Zenthari student without consent. This is a dangerous act, one that could change her." Daniel shook his head. "I didn't transfer anything. I don't even know how that's possible." Corvell tilted his head. "Then how do you explain the resonance?" Daniel hesitated. "The what?" The dean tapped a panel on the wall. A projection appeared, 2 glowing shapes pulsing in perfect sync. One was labeled Lyra, the other Daniel. The rhythm was identical, the light rising and falling together, like the same heartbeat. "This is impossible," Corvell said softly, though his tone carried no wonder, only suspicion. "Yet here it is. You are linked, human. That link is why her belly swells, why she glows. Your energy is inside her." Daniel felt the floor tilt under him. Then, "Take it out. I don't want it there." "It is not so simple," the dean replied. "If we sever the link, one or both of you may die." Before Daniel could respond, the projection shimmered, Lyra's readings spiking wildly, the glow on her side of the chart flared bright enough to make Corvell squint. "Her condition is worsening," he said, almost to himself. she will not last long. Something cold settled in Daniel's chest. Against all reason, he could feel her pain again, sharper now. "Urgent. You can save her," he said. "Let me try." Corvell's eyes narrowed. "And give you access to the Academy's medical wing? You could be dangerous. This could be part of your plan." Daniel's voice rose. "What plan?" "I'm not your enemy. She's dying, and you're wasting time." The dean regarded him for a long moment, then turned and left without answering. The door sealed, leaving Daniel alone again, but the pulse in his chest had quickened. And with it came flashes of Lyra's breathing ragged, her skin glowing like molten glass, her hands gripping the sides of the table she lay on. He couldn't just sit here. Every part of him screamed to move, to reach her. He pressed his hands to the wall, searching for anything, a loose panel, a flaw in the shield. His fingers found a small gap where the wall met the floor, just enough to wedge the edge of the bench into. He pushed, straining until the metal groaned. The hum of the shield flickered for a second. His heart leaped. He pushed again, harder, and this time the hum cut out entirely. The air felt heavier without it. Daniel slipped out into the hallway. The lights were dim here, the Academy in its night cycle. He moved quickly, staying close to the walls. Every corner felt like it could hide a guard. Every sound made him freeze. The pulse in his chest pulled him like a compass, guiding him toward the medical wing. He didn't understand it, but he didn't question it either. All that mattered was reaching her. The deeper he went, the stronger it grew, until it was almost painful. At last, he reached a set of tall silver doors. The glow from beneath them was the same pale white he had seen in her skin. He knew she was inside. He reached for the control panel, but before he could touch it, the doors slid open on their own. And there she was, lying on the table, her body trembling, her stomach glowing like a captured star. Her eyes opened just enough to see him, and she whispered through cracked lips, "Human, help me." Daniel stared at Lyra lying on the glowing table, her silver hair spread like a halo around her head. The strange light pulsing inside her belly flickered softly, as if alive. He felt a deep ache in his chest, like the two of them were tied by invisible threads. His mind raced to find answers, but all he could do was watch her struggle for breath. Suddenly, a voice echoed in his mind again, softer this time, almost like a whisper. "Please, don't leave me," it said. Daniel looked around, but there was no one else in the room. The voice was hers, Lyra's, calling to him from somewhere inside. He knelt beside her, reaching out but stopping before touching the glowing skin. His hand trembled, afraid to make things worse. "Lyra," he said quietly, "I'm here." She blinked slowly, her voice barely a breath. Why? Why is this happening? Daniel didn't have the answer, but he promised himself he would find it. His thoughts drifted back to the day at the library when they accidentally bumped into each other. He had felt a strange spark, a warmth spreading through his fingers. But he had ignored it, thinking it was just nerves. Now, he feared that spark had grown into something dangerous, something he didn't understand but could not control. As the medics entered, Daniel stepped back, watching as they attached more machines to Lyra's body. The doctors spoke quickly in a language Daniel barely understood, words filled with concern and confusion. One of them glanced at Daniel, eyes narrowing, suspicion still thick in the air. "Human energy?" one doctor muttered. "Interference of a rare kind." Daniel swallowed hard. He wished he could explain, but how could he when he didn't even understand it himself? He remembered the old alien prisoner he had met during questioning, a grizzled man with scars and quiet eyes who had warned him about the Xanthari's unique biology, that they could absorb energy from other beings, and sometimes that energy could cause unpredictable effects. If Lyra was absorbing his energy, it could explain the swelling, the glowing, and the pain. But what scared Daniel most was what the prisoner had said next. Sometimes, that energy could change the very nature of a Xanthari, making them something new, something no one had seen before. Daniel's heart pounded as he thought about what that might mean. Was Lyra in danger of becoming a weapon? Or worse, losing herself? He needed to understand more, and fast, because the longer this went on, the more Lyra's life was at risk. A sudden alarm sounded. Piercing the silence, the machines monitoring Lyra's body beeped rapidly. Her breathing grew shallow, her eyes fluttered. The doctors moved quickly, adjusting controls, trying to stabilize her. Daniel clenched his fists, feeling helpless, but then, through the noise, a new sound came to him. A soft humming, like a heartbeat, but deeper and stronger. It was coming from inside his own body, the same rhythm as the light in Lyra's belly. The connection was undeniable. Now, like two halves of a whole, somehow they were linked. Her pain was his pain. Her fear was his fear. The door opened suddenly, and Dean Corvell returned, his face grave. "Your energy is unstable inside her," he said. "If you cannot control it, both of you will suffer." Daniel looked at him, desperation in his eyes. "How do I control it?" "Tell me, please." Corvell hesitated, then spoke softly. "You must learn to share your energy willingly, not let it spread by accident. The Xanthari respond to emotion and intention. If your heart is calm and your mind clear, you can guide the energy safely." Daniel frowned. "I don't know how to do that." "Then you must try quickly," Corvell warned. "We do not have much time." Left alone again, Daniel took a deep breath and closed his eyes, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He reached deep inside himself, searching for the part that connected to Lyra, focusing on the warmth and light he felt there. Slowly, he imagined that light growing softer, gentler. Like a river flowing instead of a storm raging, he pictured the energy moving back into himself, freeing her from the pain. Suddenly, his vision blurred, and he felt a sharp pain in his chest. But he held on, refusing to let go. The pulse slowed, and the light in Lyra's belly dimmed, just a little. When he opened his eyes, she looked at him with something new, relief, and maybe a hint of hope. But their link was far from broken, and the danger was still very real. Daniel knew the hardest part was just beginning, and that the Academy and the universe might never see humans the same way again. The Academy halls felt colder to Daniel now, each step echoing louder than before. He had seen the fear in Lyra's eyes, and the swelling in her belly was more than just a mystery. It was a threat to everyone around. As he moved toward the central medical lab, whispers followed him like shadows. Alien students watched with mixed feelings, some pity, some hatred, others curiosity, but none trust. He passed a group of teachers arguing heatedly near the entrance, their voices sharp and low, but Daniel caught a few words: containment, danger, sacrifice. The word sacrifice hit him like a blow. It meant someone might die because of what had happened. Daniel's chest tightened. He knew he couldn't just stand by and wait, but the rules here were strict, and humans were outsiders. The Academy was a fortress of knowledge and order, and any threat, real or imagined, was crushed without mercy inside the lab. Lyra's body lay tense and glowing, surrounded by machines humming with power. Alien scientists in shimmering robes moved around, speaking in hurried, clipped tones. Their faces were masks of concern mixed with fear. The glow from her belly pulsed in time with a strange rhythm, like a warning heartbeat. Daniel watched as one of the lead scientists stepped forward, her eyes cold and sharp. "We cannot allow this to continue," she said. "If the energy inside her reaches a critical point, it could destroy the entire wing." The room grew quiet, the weight of her words sinking like a stone. Daniel's fingers curled into fists. His mind raced for a way to stop this, to help her, but he felt powerless. Suddenly, the alarms blared. Again, piercing the stillness, Lyra's glow flared brighter. The light flickering wildly, she gasped, her hands clutching her belly tighter. "It burns, it burns," she whispered, pain twisting her face. Daniel stepped closer, ignoring the wary looks from the scientists. "What can I do?" he asked, voice firm, desperate. One scientist shook her head. "Only containment, the energy must be sealed away." "But this may cause great harm to Lyra, or even death." The word death echoed in Daniel's ears. Cold and final, he felt a surge of anger. How could they just give up on her? He looked at Lyra and saw the fear and trust in her eyes. The moment he decided to act came with sudden clarity. "I won't let that happen," Daniel said quietly. Surprising even himself, "I will find another way." The lead scientist frowned, but said nothing. The other doctors exchanged worried glances. Some whispered that he was reckless, others that he was brave or foolish, maybe both. Daniel felt the pulse in his chest grow stronger, pulling him toward Lyra. The connection between them was more than energy now. It was a bond forged by pain and fear, but also by hope. He reached out, gently placing his hand over her glowing belly. The warmth from her skin spread through him like fire and ice all at once. His body tingled as the energy inside her stirred. Reacting to his touch, Lyra's eyes opened wider, and she whispered, "Please, don't let me burn." Daniel focused, trying to steady the storm inside her. Remembering what Dean Corvell had said, to guide the energy with calm and clear intention, he breathed slowly, pushing away the fear that wanted to overwhelm him inside. His mind, he imagined the energy as a river, not wild rapids, but a gentle flow, moving safely and quietly. He pictured it shrinking, retreating from her, flowing back into him, sharing space without harm. Pain shot through his chest, and a cold sweat broke out on his forehead, but he didn't stop. Even as the light flickered and the pulse in his chest raced, around them, the scientists watched in stunned silence, some reaching for their devices, others frozen, unsure if they should intervene. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time seemed to stretch and warp, until finally, the glow in Lyra's belly softened, dimming to a gentle light, the fever in her eyes lessened, and her breathing eased. Daniel sank to his knees, exhausted but relieved. Lyra looked at him with something like gratitude, mixed with awe. "You did that?" she whispered, voice barely a breath. Daniel nodded weakly. "I think I'm connected to you, in a way I don't fully understand." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "I thought humans were weak, but maybe you're stronger than we know." At that moment, the academy doors burst open, and a group of guards rushed in, weapons drawn, step away from the patient. One shouted. Daniel raised his hands slowly. "I'm trying to save her," he said. "Please, let me help." One guard advanced, suspicion in his eyes, but before he could act, Dean Corvell entered behind them. His expression unreadable. "We will monitor the situation closely," Corvell said, "but for now, the human remains under guard." Daniel glanced at Lyra, whose smile had faded, replaced by exhaustion, but also hope. He knew this was only the start of a long battle against fear, against misunderstanding, against time itself outside the lab. Whispers turned into rumors, and rumors into fear. The academy was changing, and Daniel and Lyra were at the center of it all. Daniel couldn't sleep in his small cell, his mind racing with images of Lyra's glowing belly and the strange connection that tied them together. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt the pulsing light inside her as if it was inside him, too. He needed to find a way to help her before it was too late. Late at night, when the halls grew quiet, Daniel heard soft footsteps approaching. The door hissed open, and a figure slipped inside, an alien janitor named Merrick, who had quietly watched Daniel since his arrival. Merrick's eyes were kind but tired, and his skin was rough like cracked stone. "I don't like what they're doing to her," Merrick whispered, glancing nervously around. That energy is dangerous. Yes, but ending her won't solve anything. Daniel looked up, hope flickering in his chest. Do you think I can do something? Merrick nodded slowly. Maybe, but you'll need to get to her before it's too late. The medical ward is heavily guarded, but I know a way in. Together, they slipped out of Daniel's cell. Moving silently through shadowed corridors, Merrick led him past locked doors and security cameras, their steps echoing softly in the cold stone halls as they approached the medical ward. Alarms suddenly blared. Red lights flashing, Daniel's heart pounded like a drum they've discovered. You're gone. Merrick hissed, grabbing Daniel's arm and pulling him into a narrow maintenance tunnel. They crawled through tight spaces, the air thick with dust and stale metal. Daniel's chest burned with the connection to Lyra growing stronger, guiding him. Like a beacon, finally they emerged near the main medical chamber. The soft glow of Lyra's light spilling through the door cracks. Daniel could hear her soft gasps of pain, and the steady beep of machines trying to hold her together. Merrick looked around, checking for guards, then motioned for Daniel to follow. They slipped inside just as the guards outside were shouting orders and banging on doors. Lyra lay restrained on the table, her body trembling, the light inside her belly pulsing faster and brighter than ever. She opened her eyes and saw Daniel, a flicker of hope crossing her face despite the pain. Daniel, she whispered weakly, I'm so scared. Daniel reached out, his hands shaking but steady. I'm here, Lyra. I won't let anything happen to you. He touched the glowing skin gently, feeling warmth and electricity ripple through his fingers. The connection between them pulsed wildly, as if warning them both, we have to transfer the energy back. Daniel said quietly, but it might hurt me. Or worse, Lyra nodded, tears shining in her eyes. Do what you must. I trust you. Daniel took a deep breath, focusing all his strength. He remembered Dean Corval's words to guide the energy with calm and clear intention. He closed his eyes, reaching deep inside himself, feeling the river of energy flowing between them, slowly. He began to pull the glowing light from her belly back into his chest. The pain was sharp and sudden, like fire ripping through his body. He gasped but held firm, refusing to let go. Around them, alarms blared louder and guards rushed toward the chamber, shouting orders to stop them. Daniel's body trembled, the energy flowing faster now, threatening to overwhelm him. Lyra's body began to relax, the glow dimming, her breathing easing, but Daniel's face twisted in pain. Sweat pouring down his forehead, his legs weakened, and he stumbled, almost falling. With a final effort, he sealed the flow, the light inside him fading to a soft pulse. He collapsed beside Lyra, exhausted but alive. The guards burst in moments later, weapons raised, but seeing the two like that, they hesitated. One guard stepped forward. Is she stable? Merrick nodded quickly, thanks to him. Yes, Dean Corval appeared then, his expression unreadable. The transfer is complete, he said, but the human is weak. He will need time to recover. Daniel lay there, catching his breath, feeling the weight of what he had done. He had saved Lyra, but at great cost to himself. Lyra reached out, taking his hand gently. You risked everything for me, she said softly. I never imagined a human could care so much. Daniel smiled faintly. I'm not just any human, Lyra. I'm yours now, outside the chamber. The academy was in turmoil. News of the energy transfer spread quickly, stirring fear, wonder, and hope among the students and staff. Some whispered that Daniel was a hero. Others called him a threat. But no one could deny that something had changed. Something that would reshape the future of the academy and maybe even the galaxy. Days passed slowly as Daniel lay in the small infirmary room, his body weak, but his mind sharp. The strange energy that had left Lyra's body now pulsed faintly inside him. A constant reminder of the bond they shared. He knew this was more than just a link, it was a responsibility he couldn't ignore. Outside the room, whispers of his actions spread through the academy like wildfire. Some praised him as brave. Others whispered fears of what a human could do with such power. But Daniel cared little for their opinions. His only thought was Lyra and the danger she still faced. One evening, as the sun dipped below the distant stars, the infirmary door opened quietly and Lyra stepped inside. Her steps cautious but determined. Her silver hair shimmered softly in the low light, and her eyes held a new softness, mixed with gratitude and something deeper. Daniel tried to sit up, but his body protested, and he settled back with a tired smile. "You came," he said simply. Lyra nodded, moving closer until she was by his side. "I wanted to see you, to thank you," she whispered, "for saving me, for believing in me when no one else did." He reached out, his fingers brushing a strand of her hair away from her face. "We're connected now," he said, "not just by energy, but by something more." She smiled faintly. "I never thought a human could be my savior, but you proved me wrong." Their hands found each other, fingers intertwining gently. The bond between them was no longer a source of fear, but a bridge of trust and hope. But the peace was fragile, for the Academy's leaders were watching closely, waiting for any sign of weakness or danger. Dean Corvell appeared outside the door, his expression unreadable as he studied the two quietly. "Your connection is unique," Corvell said finally, his voice low but serious. "But it also makes you a target for those who fear change." Daniel met his gaze steadily. "Then I'll fight to protect her, and anyone else who needs it." Corvell nodded slowly. "Very well. But remember, the Academy demands order, and not all will accept your bond." Days later, Daniel and Lyra began to explore the true nature of their connection, training in secret, learning to share energy without pain or fear. Lyra discovered that with Daniel's calm focus, her powers could be controlled and even enhanced together. They practiced moving the glowing energy between them, like a dance of light and shadow. Each success brought a new hope that Lyra could live without pain, and Daniel could carry the burden without breaking. But rumors grew darker in the halls, whispers of rebellion and fear. Some aliens called for Daniel's exile. Others plotted to separate the pair by force. One night, as Daniel lay resting, a quiet knock came at his door. Lyra entered, her eyes shining with urgency. "They plan to take me away," she said, voice trembling. "To isolate me, to break our bond." Daniel's heart clenched. "We won't let that happen," he vowed. "We'll find a way out, together." The bond between them was more than energy now. It was a promise, a lifeline, a reason to fight against the darkness closing in. The day came when the Academy's leaders decided to act. The halls buzzed with tension as guards moved through the corridors. Their mission was clear: separate Daniel and Lyra, end the bond that many feared. Daniel stood in the central chamber, waiting, his heart heavy but determined. He knew this fight was bigger than just him or Lyra. It was about trust, change, and hope. Lyra was brought in moments later, her silver hair shimmering under the harsh lights. Her eyes met Daniel's, filled with fear but also strength. They reached for each other, hands trembling but refusing to let go. The dean entered with cold authority, his voice echoing through the room. "This bond threatens the order of the Academy. You must be separated for the safety of all." Daniel stepped forward, voice steady. "We are not a threat. We are proof that differences can unite, not destroy." The room fell silent, tension thick like a storm ready to break. But then, something unexpected happened. Lyra's belly glowed softly, and from it, a small pulse of light emerged. Hovering between them like a fragile star, the light grew. shaping into something beautiful and strange, a small, glowing seed of life. Pulsating with the shared energy of two souls, gasps echoed around the chamber as everyone realized what this meant. The bond between Daniel and Lyra was not just a connection. It was the beginning of something new, a new life forged from two very different worlds. Dean Corvell's stern face softened for a moment, then he spoke quietly. "This child is a symbol of unity, a future we never expected." Daniel looked at Lyra, tears glistening in his eyes. "We will protect this life no matter what." Lyra nodded, her voice steady. "Together, we are stronger than fear." The academy began. To change that day, slowly but surely, the walls of suspicion and hatred crumbled. Students who once scorned Daniel now watched with respect and even admiration. Daniel and Lyra became symbols, not just of survival, but of hope, of a future where humans and aliens could stand side by side, sharing not only power, but trust as the glowing seed of life grew inside Lyra. So did the promise of a new beginning, one where differences were not threats, but gifts. One where love and courage could change even the oldest traditions. And in the quiet moments when the stars shone bright above the academy, Daniel and Lyra held each other close, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. 4. Their bond was no longer just energy. It was family. It was hope. It was the future of the galaxy itself.